sit through this movie and you're gonna die. Hey there, everybody. It's me. I'm back. I'm a little bit under the weather, if you can tell with the bags on my eyes, but I'm gonna power through this because sometimes there's a movie so terrible I have to talk about it. And today we're going to be talking about a little cinematic masterpiece. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if this movie is so good it's bad or that it's just bad. It's one of these movies that baffle me because on the surface it should have all the hallmarks of a great movie. However, oh boy, we're going to get into this. So let me just start out what this movie is about. Flight Risk stars the great Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace. And if you think there's more people, I shit you not, that's the whole cast for this film. And it is about a person who's supposed to testify, and then the pilot may not be who he seems to be, and wacky shenanigans on an airplane ensues. So first off, I want to just say, this is directed by Mel Gibson. Now, for all the flaws and problems people might have with Mel, the man has directed some great movies. He's done Braveheart, Apocalyptica, Passion of the Christ. I mean, do I have to go on? But this movie was definitely not written by him, just directed. So I just want to get that out of the way because I don't feel like this is just Mel's fault. It was written by a Jared Rosenberg, and I hope to God this man never writes anything again. So with that being said, there is some director things that I'll get to, but let's just start off with the movie itself and my thoughts. This movie is a giant fucking mess, okay? So here's the thing. The first, I'd say 20 minutes or so, maybe 25 minutes of this movie lures you into a sense that you might be in for a good movie. And there comes a point in this movie, and this is non-spoilers, but I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a certain point in the movie when you realize you're actually in a shitty movie and that you've been bamboozled, you've been hoodwinked, you've been lied to. This movie manipulates you for 20 minutes into actually thinking this is going to be a good movie. And then it says, ha, dumbass, you're actually in a bad movie. So what is this movie about? So Flight Risk is the Topher Grace from That 70s Show fame is in this, and he plays a witness. And Michelle Dockery is a young agent who has to take this witness from point A to point B on this plane. And Mark Wahlberg, God bless his soul, is the only man working in this fucking movie. So let me describe to you my experience with this movie by breaking down the performances, because I think for you to really understand how baffling this movie is to me, I got to break it all down. What's up, Cody Code? So this movie, are you cut or uncut? Well, interesting question. Maybe I'll have a stream for that. Anyways, so this movie, it tricks you into thinking it's a good film. This movie then goes into weird directions. Weird directions. This reminds me if you had Panic Room 7,000 feet in the air. So here's the crazy part about this. This movie starts out really good for 25 minutes. There's this tension. Mark Wahlberg's creepy. He says a lot of sexual innuendos. Really weird. He's like, hey, you know what I'm going to do to you? You have no idea what I'm going to do to you. The Mark Wahlberg gimmick. And then is where I lose my believability for this movie. So here's the premise, folks. They are flying a plane, okay? The FBI agent does not know how to fly the plane. So they have to keep Mark Wahlberg alive to navigate the plane. Now, here's where the fucking movie goes off the rails for me. They put you in a situation where you believe they got to keep this crazy-ass assassin man tied up because he's the only one who knows how to fly in the plane. And, of course, he doesn't want to die. Makes perfect sense. Where the movie goes off the rails, and I'm not spoiling anything, this is about 25 minutes into the film, is that the agent from out of nowhere, pulls a sat phone out of her ass. Yes, I am actually sweating. If you guys don't know, I do apologize. I'm currently sick. I've got the flu, and this movie didn't help. Anyways, so the agent pulls a sat phone out. Now, at this point in the movie, why is Mark Wahlberg still here? Thank God he is, because he's the best part of this movie. But it kind of makes the character redundant. And it takes the suspense out of the airplane drama. Not to mention they do a weird thing where she's talking to these people on the ground who are trying to help her figure out how to land this plane. And that's where these kinds of movies could either be really good or really bad. Now, here's where the movie confuses me. I don't know if I like this movie because there's some points in this movie that are so ridiculous that I actually found myself enjoying how stupid and ridiculous all of these plot points are. All right, let me give you an example. Nobody watches Transformers for the plot, and forgive me, bitchy, because she's a huge Transformer fan, but after movie like 2, they stopped making sense, right? What are you there for? You're there for big dumb robot fights. Fast and Furious, good fucking luck figuring out the convoluted plot in that. But I'll still go and see Fast and Furious. Same with the spin-offs. Loved Hobbs and Shaw. Hello, how you doing? But the problem I have with this movie is that the believability towards the end is just so fucking weird and out of left field, the solutions they come up with, that it really just destroys the whole entire premise that they start off with. Now, I don't know if this script went through several passes or if things were changed, but it felt like they had an idea for about a half an hour to 45-minute movie, but then realized you can't make a 45-minute movie, and they tried to stretch it out to like an hour and some change. And now let me get to the performances, because this is the baffling part. You have only 3 characters in this movie and a person on the phone. Now, every person in this movie is acting completely fucking different. Mark Wahlberg understands the assignment. He's crazed, lunatic serial killer, assassin guy. And then you have Michelle Dockery, who could have been good, but is playing the straight-laced, really dull detective. And you have Topher Grayson playing Foreman from That 70s Show. I shit you not, watch the movie just for his performance. He is literally sarcastic Eric Foreman. Like, he's playing that character. And so you have a sarcastic killer, a sarcastic target, and then a straight-laced cop. And for me, it all does. It's really fucking weird. Like, I have no clue. And Mel Gibson, bless his heart, I think this was a paycheck movie, because directing is giving your actors direction. And I don't think he directed anybody in this fucking movie, because some of the conversations feel so weird, like not human being conversation. Okay, so there's an Indian guy, and I'm not being racist here, but he's like really sounds like an Indian telemarketer who's supposed to be helping this lady land the fucking plane. And it's actually one kind of really offensive stereotype, like super fucking offensive. But on the back end, she is thousands of feet in the air, and this dude's trying to get a date with her this whole fucking movie. I shit you not, that's a plot point, and it's actually followed up on. I am fucking not kidding. And I can't decide if this movie is super fucking like... I love the movie The Wicker Man by Nicolas Cage because it's a terrible movie. I could watch that movie, but not seriously as a, oh my God, they took this so serious. And it's so fun to watch. And I feel like a couple of years from now, this is what this movie is going to be. Because it reminds me of the old 90s action movies that you don't hear about, like the shit they pumped out, like after Speed and all of that, and you had the knockoffs. This feels like one of them in modern time. It's fucking baffling how bad the decisions are in this movie. Like, the dialogue is not good. Some of the camera work in the beginning looks like they were in green screen with shit going past. Like, look at the visuals. when they're looking outside of the plane, it looks like those old days where they shot and you had to have the car move. So they would like do the thing like on The Sopranos, they did a lot where the scenery was moving, but it has an uncanny valley because it's not really moving. It's the way that they're shooting everything. That's how this movie looks when they're looking out the window of a plane. It's fucking crazy distracting. So on the one hand, I don't know how I'm supposed to rate this because if it's a serious movie, this thing's like a 2 or a 3. But if they were making an unintentionally bad 90s movie, it's like a 9 or 10 because this captures all of the tropes, all of the bullshit gimmicks that they used back in the 90s for action movies, but in our modern time. And in that, I am very much impressed. If you're like me and you came from the era of the 90s where there were all of these terrible action movies, but you didn't care because it was just fun watching these little cheesy dialogues and stuff. Honestly, this movie isn't as bad as, say, I don't know, Madam Web or something that tries to be good but is unintentionally bad. This movie is bad. I'm pretty sure the actors know it's not that great, but bless their soul if they don't try to salvage this. I mean, that's all. I don't know how else to put it. This movie is confoundingly confusing on what it's trying to do. So I don't really know if I should be harsh on this movie. I've heard people say it's the worst movie of the year. The fucking year hasn't started, so I can't make that bold statement, but it's definitely one of the worst movies I've watched so far. I was actually pretty hyped about this movie, and I gotta say, I think that this is one of those cases where this movie might be so bad it's good. So I'm gonna give this movie a ranking, but I'm also going to put an asterisk on it. I don't think you should see this movie in theaters. I don't think it's worth your money or your time in the theater. But I do think if you want to see an unintentional comedy, definitely get super drunk, have some friends over, pop this baby in. This is one of those movies that you watch with a bunch of drunk friends and you talk about how terrible the movie is. And I think in that respect, you could actually have a lot of fun with this movie. This movie wasn't bad in the sense that it pissed me off. It was bad in the sense that I was amazed that this got made. I am actually shocked that some of the choices in this movie made it. Like someone looked at the fucking script and do you guys know how many people look at scripts before they go through? Like there are 4 or 5 people in the writing process, right? And then it goes to the director. The director looks at the fucking words on the paper so that he could direct the people to the specific scene. And in all that process, some of the lines in this movie actually fucking made it in. That amazes me. And I gotta say, I don't think Mel Gibson gave a shit about directing this. Honestly, I've heard people say this is a paycheck movie. I honestly believe that because there is no way that man looked at the script and goes, oh yeah, this is like on the caliber of Braveheart and Passion of Christ and Apocalyptic. You look at this, he says, you want to know what I'm going to do to you? I'm going to do so many things to you. You have no idea. That's how it's, oh my God. If for nothing else, it's definitely worth watching how creepy Mark Wahlberg is in this movie because he turns that shit up to 11. Honestly, I have to say, Mark Wahlberg is probably the best part of this movie. Like, this was like Russell Crowe in The Pope's Exorcism. That movie's terrible, but Russell Crowe makes it amazing. This movie is horrible, but Mark Wahlberg really steps up. I'd say don't see this in the theaters. Go out when it comes streaming. Pop this sucker on. Knock back a few drinks. You know, if you smoke the greenery, go ahead, do so, because then you would have an amazing fucking time with this movie. This is one of those movies that you get super wasted. You watch, and then you wake up the next morning and go, what the fuck did I just watch? Kind of chuckle at how bad the movie is. That's what this movie is. And for that, I can't really hate this movie. I would normally want to rant and talk about, but by God, if some of the actors didn't make this fucking movie fun for me. So hats off to you, Mark. I hope you get a better fucking role because that wasn't it, Chief. Anyways, thank you. I'm going to be making another movie review on another movie I saw that's much better than this one. I've just been kind of sick and under the weather. After viewing this, I just had to come and tell you guys my thoughts and feelings on this. In the comments below, let me know, have you seen Flight Risk? Or a better question, what's your favorite cheesy 90s movie that, like, in today's world, it would be considered terrible, but you love it? Me, I like the movie Meteor Man. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's actually a pretty fucking funny movie. But in the comments below, let me know what movie that is considered terrible by a lot of people, but you enjoy, and the reason why in the comments below. Thank you very much. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the Phantom Zone. What I'm going to need you to do is kneel before Zod, or I'm going to do very, very bad things to you. Very bad things to you.